Before I was even making Injustice 2 videos, I was paying attention to all the Injustice 2 news. I watched all the big YouTubers, and one of those YouTubers obviously Super. And in one of his Q&As, he was asked a question about the Atom, and I didn't really agree with his analysis. Somebody asked him if Atom would end up being in the game, or if he could end up being in the game. And Super basically came down on this side where, you know, he's a character that shrinks, his hitboxes would be too small, and I kind of want to just have this discussion about game design because I feel like people think it's way more constricted than it actually is. So for example, if we decided, hey, we really want this character Atom in our game, let's pretend we're all making a game together, okay? We want this character that can shrink in our 2D fighting game. That's the question we're being posed, and how can we make that work? Well, one way to do it, which is a little bit not exciting, is to have him only shrink during things like his grapple and his super animation. Obviously that's kind of underwhelming if you know the character and that he can shrink, but he doesn't shrink at all during his fight, he only shrinks during his super and his grab. That's not particularly exciting. Well, how else can we incorporate the shrinking ability? What if he also shrinks during his dash so that he's basically at crouch height, or a little bit smaller than crouch height, and he can duck under some projectiles? That would be kind of interesting, almost like dashing through projectiles with like a teleport dash. Although not quite as similar, you still can't dash through enemy characters. That's kind of interesting, right? That's another way you could do it. But what if we wanted to incorporate some more complex mechanics? What if we wanted him to be able to shrink during combat? Well, that's when it gets a little bit complicated because you do have hitbox problems. What if the way you did this is he only did it during the middle of combo strings? So what if he had a combo string that was, let's say, 1-2-1 for whatever reason, and 1-2-1 was mid, overhead, mid. Bit of an arbitrary example, but follow along with me. When he does that overhead in the middle, what if he kind of like jumped up and shrank down and came back down with kind of like a downward punch, and as he completed that punch, he went back into regular size? The only frames that would be impacting are the frames while you should be blocking. But you might be thinking, well, what happens when it is a problem? What happens when you can still hit him and he's in the middle of that string? Well, if it turns out to be a problem through QA testing and they figure out, well, this isn't fair because you can't hit him during that string, well, we have a couple ways we could fix something like this. We could go back to the oversimplified version where we can only shrink during our dash and our grab and our super, or we could invoke a little bit more of a complicated system. What if, even though he shrinks down to a pretty small size on screen, if his hitbox is actually still pretty large, still not as large as his regular human form, but still pretty large? And if it still continues to be a problem, even though the hitbox is larger than the actual model, what if it's still so much smaller than a regular player model that it's still unfair? Well, there's a ton of balancing things you could do about this. You could say if this character is interrupted during his his tiny state, during his shrinked form, he could no longer shrink for an extended period of time. It went on like cooldown or something, and all of his combo strings become significantly weaker because he's been interrupted. Maybe his anti-air gets weaker for whatever reason. Basically, you could create an environment that if he was attacked during his shrinked status, that he was a significantly weaker character and he would be super punished for messing that up. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I don't understand something here because I am fairly new to fighting games, but I have been playing games for a very long time. And usually when there's an obstacle like the hitbox would be too small, when there's such a simple problem like that, there's usually a pretty easy resolution to the problem. What we've done in this very, very short video is we've managed to create just a few different solutions of how you could have a character behave with shrinking abilities in a fighting game without completely breaking the game. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. If you did agree with me, let me know in the comment section. Even if you disagreed with me, let me know why in the comment section below. Please don't just say hitboxes. I'll be very disappointed. Anywho, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. My name has been Bilbzy, and I will see you in tomorrow's video.
Holy mackerel.